One of the most critical things I think that we need to do is to begin to redefine who we are, because in the current medical model, the biomedical model, it doesn't allow for all these types of healing, because if we see ourselves as being mechanistic, materialistic beings, it doesn't allow for any of the types of phenomena associated with energy healing, subtle energy healing, any of the paranormal events just don't make sense. So what I've tried to do is, in this model of whole person caring, is to redefine who we are. And the first field of the manifest universe I've called the energy field. And this is the field that all of us arise from. And this is just a metaphor. This isn't reality, but it's to help guide us toward a more expansive way of seeing us. So this is just like a first step. So the first field of the manifest universe I'm calling the energy field. And arising from the energy field, and this is just a metaphor of who we are, and I use the metaphor of a diamond. And in this model, the spiritual is the foundation, is the essence of who we are. And it's this point here where we as individuals, where we become individuals as our spiritual self, and it's at this point where we're all one. It's at this point where all healing occurs, but we're all arising from the same common ground. And from our spiritual foundation, and it's just like what Teilhard said, Teilhard de Chardin said, that we are not, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So arising from our spiritual foundation then is our self. And it's the self with a capital S. And that is who we really are. And you can see that that self emerges from the spiritual essence of life, from all that is. And that is how we are all one. That is the unity of our existence. And if we can begin to see ourselves in this light, we can see that we're all one. And it's important to begin to understand ourselves in a greater context. The manifestations of who we are, we have our physical manifestation, our social relational manifestations, our emotional manifestations, and our mental manifestations. And what happens is when we come from the spiritual essence, our emotional life begins to change. We begin to, changes occur. We begin to have an acceptance of self and others. We begin to have the ability to give and receive love. We are able to have a basic appreciation for just the basic pleasures of life. We're able to express our own truth. These are just some of the manifestations of pattern when we are accessing our spiritual essence. And this is what we need to do. So this just gives us an idea of what can be. We're able to be empathetic and compassionate. In the physical realm, how does this manifest when we are really in touch with our spiritual essence, with who we are? We have optimal dietary intake, optimal elimination, optimal rest and sleep, optimal movement and exercise, optimal breathing. So these are some of the things that happen in our physical patterning. Not everything, but these are some of the manifestations. In our social relational aspect, what is going to manifest? We're going to have the capacity to have deep interpersonal relationships, not just superficial, but deep, heart-to-heart relationships. Relationships that promote growth. Wholesome and loving relationships. These are just some of the manifestations. Meaningful and purposeful work we're engaged in. We'll have a deep respect for all. We'll be able to honor the diversity of life. And most important, we'll know love as the essence of who we are and others. In the mental aspect, how would this manifest? So this is just an idea. Usually we're in a disease mode, so we're always looking at the bad things. This is if, hey, if we can get rid of all of the filters and really see who we are, this is what happens. Mentally then, we begin perceiving reality with clarity. We begin to have self-awareness. We have a problem-solving orientation to life. We don't feel like we're victims or pawns, but we feel empowered. We begin to have positive thoughts and attitudes. And a high degree of imagination and creativity really characterizes a life that is lived close to spirit. And we also have a sense of humor. And when all of those things are realized, and it probably won't happen in this lifetime, but when every aspect of our life is infused with who we are, with the spiritual, with the energetic, with this infinite field, then we become self-realized. So that's the idea about who we are. And if you'd like, I can show you some other slides here too. So maybe cut, because I need to change a